Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I wanted to have a bit of a discussion regarding seasons and the general seasonal content format. I've had a few different season ideas and videos that I've wanted to do for like a week or two now, but I just wasn't quite sure how to split them up or format them, but I finally figured, you know what, let's just shave them all off a little bit and condense things into one video, which hopefully I think will be a bit more interesting and consumable when it's all said and done. So, in this one, I want to give a few of my more recent thoughts on the potential season changes we are set to receive as per Massive's wording in the last intelligence annex article that we received, provide my new theory and kind of fun little idea for the season 9 prime target given something that's happened recently in game, and then overall tie that all back around to the idea of what seasons as a whole and their story progression are, and how I think we need to see that change in that regard. Sound fun? Alright, let's dive into it. Beginning with the season changes we are receiving in TU15, whatever they decide to call the new update at this point. If you've forgotten, in our previous Intelligence Annex article from November, which again, those were put out, or they're put on hold once Massive decided to delay the new content and update beyond February. But before that point, we had two of these Intelligence Annex articles that were detailing key components of this new update. The first one focused on the rework to specializations, and then the second one gave us a look at a brand new progression system headed our way called the Expertise System. And at the end of that most recent one, they had let us know that in the next article, which we were set to get like just a week or two after the point at which they announced the delay, was going to focus on changes upcoming to the Division 2's seasons. Their exact wording was, next time around, we will provide you all with more information about the improvements we are currently working on for our seasons, which will be implemented starting from next season. So that comes with its own set of assumptions and expectations that could be set. Shortly after we got this news, I made my video giving my speculation on what I believed and hoped these improvements they were touting might be, because I was and am still very hopeful that we see seasonal content continue to be refined and made more and more into sustainable entertainment and enjoyment in between our bigger content drops. And I think that these are going to be somewhat sizable changes, considering the devs were dedicating an entire Intelligence Annex article to it, comparative to the size of the first two. There should be some goodies in store. But upon going back and listening to that video I made, I realized that I kind of neglected to present one big possibility, and that's that who's to say that the devs plan on sticking to the current manhunt system that seasons 1 through 4 follow? Right? Now, when I first contemplated this, my mind started going wild. I was like, holy crap, there's so many possibilities for what could take its place if that's indeed something that's in the cards. But then I kind of cut myself short when I recalled one key detail we got from a dev back in 2021. I used this in my new content information recap video, which is still pretty relevant if you want a recap of everything we know. I'll link it up top. But it was a tweet from Palle Hofstein back during the summer of last year in 2021, where he explained to someone on Twitter that a new art hire they were doing was for things like new exotics, gear sets, and manhunt targets. So when I did in fact remember that point, I was like, oh man, I guess the probability of switching up the manhunt system is probably pretty low and off the table. However, I still think there's a chance, and again, this is something I didn't even consider in my last season video, but I think there is a chance that we could see some changes to the manhunt hunting, so to say. It seems as though the act of tracking down sub-targets and having the season culminate in a prime target fight is likely sticking around, but it could be entirely possible that the act of unlocking and fighting, these targets could be changing up. Maybe there's new types of objectives to run instead of just these same missions we have done, however many times, or do zones and control points. Maybe there's an actual investigation, quote-unquote, theme to it, as a viewer of mine previously suggested, I recall, where you have to actually go out and explore a bit, find some clues. I don't know, but I wanted to present the possibility to you all because it's been floating around in my mind lately, and I would love to hear your thoughts below on your ideas of how it could potentially change if that is something that the devs are indeed planning. Beyond the structure of seasons themselves, I also want to present a bit of a new idea on how they could give us something new and bring some variety when it comes to the actual manhunt targets. And this was prompted by a change that we recently saw in-game. Now let me be clear, I'm not saying this is going to happen and that this will be our Season 9 prime target. It's just a fun idea that could potentially be supported by this little bit of evidence, but it's fun to think about nonetheless. And that is, what if Massive were to make a Warhound our next prime manhunt target? If you were unaware, with the release of the Division 2's latest downloadable patch, which was, like 2 weeks ago, where they ended the winter event and we finally got the fix to the chill out mask, there was another relatively minor change in there, but one that was not in the patch notes, and that's that they actually went in and changed the sound that a Warhound makes when it dies. So I dug up an old clip that I had posted here on YouTube. Listen to this one of what the old Warhound death explosion sounded like. And here's what the explosion now sounds like after this recent patch.
System Alpha imagining.
As you can probably tell, there's a bit more like whining in there, some more reverb. I don't know, I'm not a sound guy, but it sounds awesome and I totally dig it. And so, this is interesting. Does this mean anything? Probably not. However, I would say it's an interesting thing for them to go in and change for like seemingly no reason. It's a bit strange that it just popped up in this very minor patch, and it's also kind of odd that it isn't in the patch notes. So again, not claiming that this is true, but I wouldn't say it's impossible that this was a change intended for the new update and the new content, and it just slipped in early. Now, why would the devs be wanting to change the Warhound death sound? Well, here's a grand idea. Everyone ready? What if Season 9's prime target is a Warhound? A Warhound that had a unique design, maybe some special attacks, and maybe even an intelligence, an actual voice to be able to communicate with us. I feel like that would be pretty awesome and a really fun change of pace compared to the other 4 targets thus far, because here's the issue, and this is kind of the last big thing I wanted to get into, but one of the problems is that we, with our current Manhunt target system for seasons 1 through 4, is that we're blowing through major character encounters and deaths, like in the case of Fei Lao, at a far more rapid pace than the Division has ever been accustomed to in its lifespan thus far, right? In the course of just 2 consecutive seasons, suddenly both Barton Schaefer and Fei Lao are off the table, alive or dead, and without even receiving any new content or story yet, it already feels as though there's a bit of a vacuum there. We know that the Sokolova family is likely going to continue to rise in prominence, but that takes time to do. It takes a certain level of persistence and dedication on the devs' end in order to build those figures up, in order to make us care about them, make them actually threatening individuals worthy of a big manhunt to take them down. And so you can't just throw Natalia in as the Season 9 prime target, because then 3 months later, bam, your next big bag is off the board once again, and there's no one to replace her. So I think overall, regardless of if we are going to see any substantial changes to the seasonal manhunt structure or not, there needs to be a narrative shift towards building up new threats and introducing us to new characters rather than relying on slowly picking off the old ones. So, for example, have some sort of souped-up Black Tusk Warhound be the Season 9 prime target. Make him have some sort of, I don't know, jittery, robotic voice. That would be so sick. And have the narrative stuff we receive throughout the season continue to deepen the Sokolova lore, introduce us to more Black Tusk figures and just more people in general, and continue that trend through Season 10 and 11. Have the targets be new characters with cool designs and interesting backgrounds, and continue to lay the groundwork for an actual epic conclusion. And then in Season 12, at the end of a year's cycle of seasons, then hopefully you've built up enough things to warrant a Natalia manhunt, or even a different new character that's been teased somewhere between, seasons 9 and 11. And then you could save Natalia for an actual new Warlord-style DLC, which I do think is coming eventually. So yeah, overall, I just think Massive's narrative priorities need to shift in order to set the Division 2's narrative up in such a way that will make the players invested, create some badass new characters, introduce us to some cool new dynamics, continue to world build, let us interact with a captured Barton, give us the Warhound prime target. There's a lot of possibilities. We're at a point where the devs could really take the story in any direction they want, and I'm just excited to see where that may be, as well as to see if they can improve upon the seasonal model enough to make it a better platform to tell these cool stories. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you'll be updated every time I upload. Let me know your thoughts on any and all of these season topics. Have you developed any new ideas about what changes seasons could be receiving since we last spoke about them? What do you think about the newly implemented Warhound death sound? Do you think there's any chance that it holds any sort of significance? And what do you think about my outlook on the future of Division 2's story? Does more build-up need to occur before we jump into the next big bad? And, of course, what do you think about my idea for an intelligent Warhound prime target? I think it'd be pretty sick, but I'll always be very curious to hear what you all think on the matter. That's going to do it for me on this one, everybody. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold out.